Hello! Ladies and gentlemen, the UCL quarterfinals are officially complete. Although, of course, all these matchups were exciting, it was a bit disappointing that everything was decided essentially in the first leg, where every single team that was victorious is now in the semifinals. And this also means that my quarterfinal predictions aged absolutely terribly. I only got 1 out of 4 clubs advancing correct, which was Real Madrid. And honestly, that wasn't too hard to call, as Chelsea had been in an absolute mess. Frank Lampard with 4 for 4 losses since he has taken charge, going through a finishing crisis. Yeah, no surprise we're seeing Real Madrid in the semifinals once again. They're facing Manchester City. Of course, I got that outcome wrong against Bayern Munich. I knew it was 50-50 banking on this one, but Manchester City seemed to have that component that they technically were missing last season. Erling Haaland, the most prolific goal scorer this season. He has been on absolute fire. He missed a penalty against Bayern in the second leg, but he very much made up for it in the same exact match. I'm obviously not surprised I got this one wrong. Probably the most 50-50 one to call out of the matchups. But then, moving on to the other side of the bracket, I went for Benfica and Napoli to advance. And instead, and I'm not complaining about this, we're going to be seeing the Milan clubs face each other for a derby in a semi-final. Why did I go for Benfica versus Napoli? They've both been on absolute fire this season. I know I'm not the only one who had terrible quarterfinal predictions here, because I saw so many people going for these clubs as well. Benfica were having marvelous Champions League displays. They topped such a difficult group, already known to frustrate massive Italian clubs. They've really been incredible this year, but their form has just seemed to dip. I went to go watch them in Lisbon, and unfortunately, they were pretty underwhelming against Porto. And then straight after that, they managed to lose to Inter Milan at their home ground as well. They put off a good fight in the second leg, of course, but it wasn't enough. Inter Milan advance. This goes for both Milan clubs, by the way. Obviously great that they're in the semifinals, but they've really been all over the place this season, so it's really incredible that they're both this far. In between both legs of the Champions League, Inter had to face Monza and lost 1-0 at the San Siro. Before then, they drew to Salernitana, lost to Fiorentina, lost to Spezia. They also barely advanced over Porto. Meanwhile, AC Milan not having their fair share of results going their way, but they had to face Napoli 3 times this month alone. Once in the Serie A, and twice in the Champions League. And they were victorious every single time, well, apart from the end where Osimhen grabbed a late equalizer. But Napoli were never able to beat them. Milan had their eyes on lockdown, this one club to focus on. They're clearly going all out in this Champions League campaign. And despite them losing to Udinese, drawing to Empoli and Bologna, they are here to bring their Champions League legacy back. Yep, we got incredible matchups here. So of course, this is probably going to age terribly as well. I'm going to be giving you guys my very early predictions as the quarterfinals have literally just finished. Alright, I gave a little bit of a preview already of how these teams have advanced to the semifinals, but let's get into this. Starting off with Real Madrid versus Manchester City. Literally a semifinal repeat. These sides faced each other last time around, and Real Madrid just squeezed through at the end. Last time, Man City won the first leg 4-3, and then we saw Rigo score 2 90-minute goals, which brought the aggregate scoreline to 4-5, and then Benzema cleans up the match with a 95th minute penalty. I know Real Madrid are one of the biggest clubs in the world. They've proved their worth. However, this truly was one of the best Champions League campaigns I've seen. The quality they had to come up against and how many people consistently doubted them. Beating Manchester City in this fashion was genuinely one of the most ultimate victories. And it is going to be tougher this time. Manchester City have obviously been in phenomenal form. They were last season as well, but now they have Erling Haaland. Last time they did miss that prolific goal scorer, and he has been one of the best goal scorers this season. He's on the verge of breaking the Premier League goal scoring record, from a record that was set by players who had more matches to break the Premier League goal scoring record. This guy's doing it all in his first year at Manchester City. Of course he's doing well with all the incredible players surrounded by him. City back then seemed to do okay without his quality, so now I'm very nervous to see what they're made of. The fact that they also beat Champions League favorites for so many, Bayern Munich, in the fashion they did, 3-0 in the first leg, you just know they mean business this season. Besides the second leg matchup, all of their encounters have been demolitions, truly. They scored 3 against Leicester. They scored 4 against Southampton. They scored 4 against Liverpool. They scored 6 against Burnley. 7 against RB Leipzig in the round of 16. I truly admire what Real Madrid have done in the Champions League last season and seasons before. Truly, the Champions League is in this club's DNA. But I do think it's going to be a much tougher task than last season, and City are also going to be very motivated to get revenge. Real Madrid obviously have had their impressive showings this year. They beat Chelsea twice 2-0. They have shown their inconsistencies recently, though. They did just lose to Villarreal right before facing Chelsea for the first time. However, prior to that, they beat Barcelona in the Copa del Rey away 4-0 with the Benzema hat-trick. And before then also beat Valladolid 6-0. Last season, after Real Madrid beat PSG in the round of 16, they had to come up against Chelsea and Manchester City in the next rounds. And then they beat Liverpool in the final. Well, interestingly enough, Obviously, this is in different order, but they're facing all of these teams once again. They've already beaten Liverpool head-to-head, of course. They've already beaten Chelsea. Now they just got to do it one more time against Manchester City to make it to a back-to-back Champions League final, something they're already familiar at doing. What a tough one to call, truly. At the beginning of this season, I really was leaning towards Real Madrid being my favorites to win the Champions League. But just at the rate City are going at the moment, it feels so wrong to doubt them. Benzema, of course, really isn't slowing down. Like I said, he scored a hat-trick against Barcelona. So although Haaland looks to be the favorites to score loads of goals, one sleep on this guy either scoring loads against City. Despite their defense actually looking pretty organized against Bayern Munich, we saw John Stones have a phenomenal display against the German club. Ake's also been fantastic this season. They really haven't been conceding many goals. In fact, the last time they conceded more than one goal in a match was against Tottenham all the way back in January. And they still won that match. Both clubs have a lot to worry about before this fixture arises, as City have to worry about the FA Cup final, along with facing Arsenal for that Premier League title race, and Real Madrid are in the Copa del Rey final. So much football to be played by both of these clubs before this fixture, which makes me realize I definitely got to do a final prediction video. These are just my earliest thoughts. City have just been playing such phenomenal football, really looking like an organized unit. I think they can conquer Madrid this time. I see the motivation being absolutely there. And I'm going to say they're able to do so quite narrowly. I think they might struggle in that first leg at the Bernabeu. I say that finishes in a 1-1 draw. But then the second leg at the Etihad, City are able to clean up 2-0. This is just as 50-50 though to me as the City-Bayern match because, of course, City are always deemed to be quote-unquote favorites in the Champions League. It always seems to be finally their year, and then they somehow fluke things. Very much could change though. I'll let you know if my thoughts are updated. But yeah. These are my early ones. Manchester City to advance to the final. And then for the Milano Derby, Inter Milan versus AC Milan. Love this matchup, of course. It's an absolute classic. Obviously, these sides had their fair share of facing each other this season already. AC Milan getting the first laugh back in September, beating them 3-2. But the last two times that they faced, which were both in 2023, Inter Milan were victorious. I really got to say once again, though, shout out to both these clubs for making it so far. Yeah, they're not looking too impressive in the City at the moment, but in the Champions League, the fact that one of them is going to make it to the final is absolutely incredible, especially after so many people doubted them. I mean, I was doubting AC Milan for some time. Everybody doubted them against Napoli because everybody was on that Napoli hype train for how incredible they've been doing. Before they beat Napoli in the City out 4-0, they were probably the most slept-on team in the quarterfinals. Everyone felt safe to not bank on them. But no, they love to do it narrowly, with the likes of Rafael Leao doing wonders on the counterattack. I mean, what was that run against Napoli in the second leg? That was nuts. Olivier Giroud, I'm glad this guy's finally getting some praise. Tomori's an absolute warrior in the back line. Theo Hernandez is still proving to be one of the best fullbacks. Maignan fulfilling the role of Donnarumma is truly incredible. Ever since his takeover, I mean, he won the Scudetto with Milan, and now is in the Champions League semi-finals, while Donnarumma is still not made it past the round of 16. Milan bringing back their legacy in Inter as well. It's going to be interesting to see what they prioritize on, as both of these sides are cutting it close to making it to the top four. AC Milan have that fourth position right now, but only just by 2 points straight above Inter Milan. As I've said, both have really been struggling in the Serie A with form recently, and interestingly enough, prior to them facing each other in the first leg, they're coming up against similar opponents. Both of them have to face Lazio and Roma. But as we've seen, it's kind of ridiculous to judge both of these clubs' forms based on how they're doing in the Serie A. Inter Milan also, I think, is not getting enough credit. Of course, everyone was boasting about how incredible Benfica have been, but Inter Milan's group in the Champions League was very, very difficult. They pushed through against Barcelona after they had quite the transfer window, and now beat two Portuguese clubs that have truly been in solid form. My comments about Inter Milan in the past were terrible. I was saying that this side just does not have good luck in the Champions League. They're not going to do well, and here they are in the semifinals. All they have to do is beat the club that they've already beaten twice this year. Another huge 50-50 one. Genuinely, I won't be surprised no matter what the outcome is in the Champions League. I want to say let's wait to see what happens in the other Serie A fixtures, but like I said, these clubs' Serie A forms don't matter at all. But just due to the fact that Martinez has been consistently killing it, even the likes of Correa scoring a banger against Benfica, showing that they have quality backed up in the attack. Lukaku's recently found his form. I still love to see Edin Dzeko pull through. Phenomenal midfielders like Barella and Brozovic. I'm going to edge towards Inter for now. I'm going to say they do the job in the first leg. They're able to beat Milan 2-1. And then the second, it finishes in a 1-1 draw. Do I hope to see some more goals? Obviously. But yeah, guys, those are my earliest predictions. Shout out to all these clubs for proving me wrong. And of course, shout out to Real Madrid for continuing to doing bits in the UCL. Can't wait to see what these semifinals are about. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. But yeah, I'll try to go more in depth once I give you my final predictions. These are just the earliest thoughts. Clearly, that didn't age well for me last time around. I won't be surprised if I'm 0 for 2 in this, truly. Really could be Real Madrid, AC Milan at this point. Football's just been bizarre this year, but either way, it wouldn't be surprising to see any of these teams make it to the final. But yeah, I'll see you all very, very soon. Also expect an early Europa League prediction. But yeah, take care. La con noche.